In the late 1960s, America was a nation in turmoil, grappling with profound social and political upheaval. The Vietnam War fueled widespread dissent. Civil rights movements challenged entrenched injustices, and a generation of young people questioned every established norm. Amidst this chaos, a desperate search for meaning emerged, leading many to reject traditional institutions. Yet, from this very rejection, something extraordinary blossomed, a spiritual phenomenon known as the Jesus movement. It didn't originate in grand cathedrals or academic halls, but on sun-drenched California beaches, in bustling coffee shops, and within counterculture communities previously dismissed by mainstream religion. This movement fundamentally altered American Christianity and culture in ways we continue to experience. How did this ancient faith find new life in such a modern, rebellious context? Let's embark on a historical and analytical journey to uncover this fascinating story. Welcome to the Scholar's Ledger, where history, faith, and power are revealed. The Jesus movement ignited at a pivotal moment when many young Americans were actively disengaging from organized religion. They viewed established institutions as complicit in war, racism, and social inequities, fostering deep suspicion. Authority figures perceived as hypocritical preached morality while seemingly upholding unjust systems, further alienating a generation hungry for authenticity. This widespread disillusionment created a spiritual vacuum. Young people yearned for truth, belonging, purpose, and transcendence, seeking something genuinely real to believe in. Traditional religion, often seen as rigid and formal, offered little appeal. Yet, paradoxically, Christianity began to manifest in an entirely new form among these seekers. It wasn't presented as a rigid system of rules or doctrines, nor as formal Sunday services. Instead, it emerged as a personal encounter with Jesus, characterized by radical love, acceptance, and a vibrant sense of community and meaning. This transformative period in the late 1960s and early 1970s would reshape American Christianity for generations. Today, we will meticulously explore its origins, its profound significance, and its enduring legacy in contemporary American culture. The Jesus movement found its primary foothold in California, particularly along the West Coast, a region already synonymous with 1960s counterculture and experimentation. It began organically with small, informal gatherings of young people, hippies, surfers, former drug users, and those disillusioned with mainstream society. They congregated in living rooms, coffee houses, and on beaches, sharing meals and exploring biblical texts together. Crucially, these nascent groups lacked professional clergy. Leadership was peer-to-peer, fostering an environment of shared discovery. This horizontal structure contrasted sharply with hierarchical church models. The portrayal of Jesus was equally revolutionary, not a distant institutional figure, but a relatable, compassionate, and profoundly countercultural revolutionary. They saw Jesus as one who challenged religious authorities, embraced outcasts, and preached radical love and forgiveness. The message from Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," resonated deeply with a generation exhausted by societal conflict. The movement spread through authentic personal testimony and word of mouth, creating a ripple effect without centralized coordination. This raises a critical historical and theological question. Was this a genuine revival, a return to authentic faith, or a fundamental reinvention of Christianity itself? The distinction carries significant implications for understanding its impact. What truly distinguished the Jesus movement, and often provoked controversy, was its audacious fusion of Christian belief with countercultural expression. This blend frequently scandalized traditional Christians. Adherents attended worship in jeans and sandals, a stark contrast to the suits and dresses expected in conventional churches. Long hair and beards, symbols of rebellion in the mainstream, were commonplace. Music became a central, dynamic element, with acoustic guitars, folk songs, and rock influences replacing or supplementing traditional hymns. Gatherings often occurred in unconventional spaces, far removed from formal church buildings. Personal testimony and shared experiences were prioritized over rigid doctrine or theological precision. The emphasis shifted from belonging to a church to knowing Jesus personally, highlighting authentic experience, genuine emotion, and real transformation. This experiential focus challenged established churches profoundly. Could faith truly thrive without institutional structure, hierarchical oversight, or formal doctrinal standards? Many established denominations viewed the movement with deep discomfort, fearing it was anti-intellectual, reducing Christianity to mere emotionalism. Others worried it was simply cultural appropriation, where countercultural values were cloaked in religious language without genuine submission to Christian teaching. Conversely, some leaders saw it as a powerful move of the Holy Spirit. An authentic revival reaching those institutional churches had failed to engage. Both perspectives held validity, contributing to the movement's controversial nature and its complex, multifaceted legacy. One of the Jesus movement's most profound and enduring legacies is its revolutionary impact on Christian music, and by extension, on how faith permeated popular culture. Before this era, Christian music was largely confined to traditional hymns or specific gospel genres. The movement, however, birthed contemporary Christian music, CCM as we know it today. Christian rock, folk worship songs, and praise choruses all emerged from these vibrant gatherings, spreading rapidly. Artists like Larry Norman, Love Song, and Second Chapter of Acts pioneered music that mirrored the secular rock and folk sounds of the time, but with explicitly Christian lyrics. This music transcended traditional religious radio, appearing in mainstream record stores and concert venues. Psalm 96's injunction to sing to the Lord a new song was taken literally, inspiring new musical forms to express ancient faith. This musical revolution had far-reaching implications. It made Christian faith accessible to young people who would never have connected with traditional church music. It catalyzed the creation of a multi-billion-dollar Christian music industry. It also established the template for contemporary worship now experienced by millions weekly. However, a critical question arises. Did popular culture and commercial media genuinely spread faith, or did they begin to reshape Christianity itself, prioritizing emotional experience and entertainment over theological substance and spiritual transformation? The pressures of the marketplace inevitably alter the incentives and expressions of faith. The response from established churches to the Jesus movement was sharply divided, revealing deep internal tensions within American Christianity. Some denominations strongly resisted, viewing it as theologically shallow, culturally compromising, and lacking proper authority. Concerns about heresy, untrained teachers, and emotional manipulation replacing sound doctrine were not entirely unfounded. Some fringe groups within the broader movement did veer into problematic authoritarianism or unorthodox theological ideas. However, other churches enthusiastically embraced the movement. They saw it as a refreshing wind, a solution to declining relevance, and proof that faith could still resonate with contemporary culture. These churches adapted their services, incorporated contemporary music, fostered more casual worship environments, and emphasized a personal relationship with Jesus over institutional loyalty. New denominations and parachurch ministries, such as Calvary Chapel and the Vineyard Movement, trace their direct origins to the Jesus movement. Evangelism also shifted, becoming more personal and conversational, moving away from confrontational street preaching. Jesus movement evangelism focused on sharing personal transformation stories and inviting others to experience Jesus for themselves. This period fundamentally reshaped how many Americans encountered Christianity. Yet, it posed a crucial question still debated today. When faith adapts to culture to become relevant, where are the boundaries? How does one maintain the distinctiveness and challenging aspects of Christian teaching while remaining approachable, avoiding mere cultural capitulation? Walk into many American churches today, particularly evangelical and non-denominational congregations, and you are witnessing the direct legacy of the Jesus movement, whether consciously or not. Contemporary worship music, featuring bands and singers instead of organs and choirs, is a direct descendant. Casual dress codes and informal worship environments. Jesus movement, the emphasis on a personal relationship with Jesus over mere church affiliation. Jesus movement, the entire contemporary Christian music industry. Jesus movement. The expectation that church should be emotionally engaging and personally relevant rather than formal and traditional. All hallmarks of this era. John 8:32, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free," was a constant refrain, emphasizing that a personal encounter with Jesus brings freedom and transformation. This became central to how American evangelicals understood conversion and Christian life. However, this legacy is not without its critics. Some argue that despite its positive aspects, the movement inadvertently weakened theological depth, fostering a Christianity rich in experience but potentially shallow in intellect. They contend it prioritized feeling over thinking, personal experience over communal tradition, and immediate relevance over sustained discipleship. Critics point to challenges in biblical literacy and theological depth within many Jesus movement influenced churches. The emphasis on individual relationship, they argue, can lead to individualism, isolating believers from the corrective wisdom of community and tradition. Making faith culturally relevant can, at times, slide into making it culturally captive, where Christianity merely reflects secular values with religious vocabulary. Defenders, however, assert that the movement made faith accessible, broke down barriers, and recovered the vitality and personal nature of early Christianity, which had been obscured by institutional formalism. The question remains, did the Jesus movement deepen belief by making it personal and experiential? Or did it simplify and ultimately weaken belief by downplaying theology and tradition? The Jesus movement's influence extended far beyond ecclesiastical boundaries, leaving an often overlooked but profoundly significant mark on broader American culture. It fundamentally altered how Americans publicly discussed faith. Spiritual language entered everyday conversation in new ways, with people openly sharing their faith journey, finding Jesus, or being born again in contexts where religion was previously considered private. Faith became understood primarily as a personal rather than an institutional matter. The question shifted from "what church do you belong to" do you have a personal relationship with Jesus? This individualization of faith had both positive and negative consequences. Positively, it allowed for authentic spiritual exploration without the constraints of institutional expectations. Negatively, it contributed to the fragmentation seen in American Christianity today, where personal preference often outweighs shared tradition or doctrine. The Jesus movement also established the template for how many Americans perceive the relationship between faith and culture. The idea that Christianity should engage popular culture, be contemporary and relevant, and coexist with casual lifestyles and creative expression, these assumptions feel natural to many today but were radical innovations at the movement's inception. This leads us to a crucial analytical question. Was this transformation primarily spiritual? A genuine movement of God occurring within a specific cultural moment? Or was it primarily cultural, with countercultural values and aesthetics merely being baptized in Christian language? The honest, nuanced answer is likely both. Spiritual and cultural forces intertwined in ways that are impossible to fully disentangle. So, did the Jesus movement rescue American Christianity from decline and irrelevance, breathing new life into a tradition stifled by institutional formalism? Or did it initiate a new form of faith fundamentally shaped by and vulnerable to cultural forces, creating problems we still grapple with today? Can spiritual authenticity truly survive the pressures of mass media, commercial influence, and the constant demand for relevance and accessibility? And what are the long-term implications when belief becomes primarily personal and experiential, rather than communal and traditional? These complex questions defy simple answers, with different traditions and values within American Christianity offering varied perspectives. What is undeniable is the Jesus movement's profound reshaping of how millions of Americans understood faith, identity, and purpose. It forged forms of worship, music, and religious expression that remain central to American Christianity 5 decades later. It established patterns of evangelism, community, and spiritual practice that feel normal to contemporary Christians but were, in their time, radical innovations. Its influence resonates powerfully today. In church operations, in the multi-billion-dollar Christian music industry, and in how individuals approach personal spirituality. Whether the Jesus movement represented a genuine revival that revitalized American Christianity, or the beginning of its transformation into something more culturally shaped and potentially shallower, remains an open and hotly debated question. What is certain is that it changed everything, and we are still living in the world it created. This is the Scholar's Ledger, where history, faith, and power are revealed. If this video offered you new insights into the Jesus movement's enduring impact, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. Did this movement ultimately strengthen or weaken American Christianity? Let's continue this vital conversation.